You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by the National Association of Convenience Stores.
Welcome to Convenience Matters. This is Jeff Leonard with the National Association of Convenience Stores, and I'm joined by my regular co-host.
I'm John Eichberg with the Fuels Institute in NACS, and we use Convenience Matters to talk about things that fuel you, your body, your car. And today we're going to talk about alternative fueling operations for your vehicle.
Now, here you have Elon Musk. Apparently, he's recently said things like...
Sorry, who's Elon Musk?
He's this smart guy who invented a couple things that have disrupted industries to such a level we can't imagine. We're talking about space travel. We're talking about payment systems. We're talking about electric vehicles.
Elevated magnetic hyperloop trains.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig. And so he's a very influential thought leader who's actually delivering on some of these. One of the latest things he said is the gas station will cease to exist. We've also heard those proclamations from a couple other groups that offer home delivery of fuels. It's their attempt to disrupt the traditional fueling structure. And you hear these sentences or these slogans like, welcome to life without gas stations and never stop for gas again. That is the promise of some of these fuel delivery operations, whether it's Filled or Purple or some of these others. And what they do is their premise is they go to your car, they fill up your vehicle, and it's done at a very competitive rate. It's one of the many ways that people are looking to disrupt not just transportation, but everything fuel related. And let's talk first about the convenience of this. One of my first hesitancies in saying, will this make a difference? There's 39 million fill-ups a day. If you look at convenience stores, it's really not that difficult to get to one. So how much convenience does this add? Or is this really about looking at the overall operations of fueling? You
know, Jeff, I'm not sure what their market reach is right now. I think they're still pretty much in their infancy in terms of gaining any type of customer base. My suspicion is they're trying to tee off on consumer perception that filling up your car is not a fun thing. You know, we talk about it. Why are customers so sensitive to price? Because it's not a optional purchase, it's a required purchase, and they don't like that. They don't like stopping and spending 5 minutes at a dispenser that may not be as clean as they would like it to be. They don't like the experience of having to pull over when they're trying to get to work and they go, man, I need to get fuel, I got to drop off and divert my route. There's a lot of emotional elements associated with buying gas, and you and I have always talked that gasoline purchase is not a rational decision. Why do people drive 5 minutes out of their way to save 3 cents a gallon? The emotional, I got to stick it to them idea, right? So I think the strategy here is similar to, as you were doing the intro, I was thinking, you know, when you have a cracked windshield, there are a couple companies now that come and change a windshield right there in your parking lot at the office. Think about that model. That's pretty darn convenient. And they bill your insurance company, you don't have to pay anything. All you got to do is give them access to your car. And you go back at work while they finish it and you're all done. It's great service. This is kind of along the same lines. I need gas, but I don't know how I'm going to have to deal with it. They can just come and fill up my car, and I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think the one difference is when you talk about the entities, the groups that replace your car windshield, it's at no added expense. And When you look at fueling, full serve has gone away except for the 2 states that mandate it, which is New Jersey and Oregon. And it's because people don't want to pay an extra nickel or dime, whatever it used to be, to have somebody fuel for them. They would rather take those cost savings. And when you look at these models of these places that will fuel for you, one of the things they say, and I think they've stopped saying that because it kind of sounds a little bit ridiculous, is they say, well, we're able to buy gas at the wholesale price. Is there, well... What do you think? Is there a wholesale price? Is there a secret price like there is for various other products?
Every single retailer of any product on the planet is buying it wholesale and then reselling at retail. So, yeah, hey, I bought this at wholesale, but here's my retail price to you. There's always going to be a market factor. I think there are certain entities, certain retailers that buy larger volumes and can probably get a guaranteed preferential price. We're talking a penny or two a gallon. We're not talking saving 50 cents a gallon, right? But you're buying volume, and you're being rewarded for that volume because you're getting guaranteed supply to the supplier. At this point, these guys aren't buying enough volume. They don't have the market share. They don't have that volume. So I don't see they're getting that type of preferential supply. They probably have their own little bulk storage facilities. That's why they are able to buy on wholesale. Otherwise, they're going to retail and reselling retail. But what I've heard is they're charging quite a bit, like a $5 convenience fee to fill up your car. Now, if consumers are really price sensitive, $5 for a fill up is a lot. That's about a 50-cent premium on a 10-gallon fill up. So there is a economic factor here, and what they're banking on is the clientele they're searching for doesn't care about the price. They're all about time, and they're trying to sell time, which, you know what? If you're thinking about a competitive threat, convenience for sell time. And so that is, on its surface, definitely a threat. If they start getting customers start thinking that mobile refueling is going to save me more time and it's worth the extra money than stopping off at a convenience store, 70% of our sales are fuel retailing, and about 27% of those customers go inside the store. You start losing those customers, that throughput, what's going to happen to your most profitable sectors inside the store? Are they sufficient enough to keep bringing those people back if they don't need fuel? That's something you got to look at if something like this starts to gain traction.
And of course, there are a variety of things that if you know fueling, you say, okay, well, that economics doesn't make sense. How do you regulate the proper gallons the way you would at a traditional fueling outlet? How do you know you're getting exactly 5 gallons? How do you know you're getting exactly 10 gallons? How do you ensure that the same safety precautions that are used at retail locations are used if there's an event of a spill or something worse than that? How do you transport largely cobbled together gas cans around town, and will regulations prevent that? Do you want these things going through a tunnel? Do you there are all kinds of factors related to these that make you say this is definitely niche. But at the other point, I think it really speaks to the broader discussion of disruption and how many entities are looking to disrupt the traditional fueling. And that's essentially what the Fuels Institute is doing right now. It's looking at all these disruptors that are going to affect our industry to a small extent or a great extent over the next decade or more.
Yeah, so the Institute's whole objective when NACS founded it was, what's coming next? What do we need to be prepared for? There was some concern, is the internal combustion engine powered by gasoline a dinosaur of the past that's going to be extinct in 20 years? And so they wanted to figure out, okay, what are the trends? What are we seeing? On the mobile refueling, I think retailers want one thing and one thing more than anything. They want equitable treatment of competitive threats. A convenience retailer selling fuel is regulated by the weights and measures, maybe the Department of Agriculture, to make sure the meters on the dispenser are working right. They're regulated by EPA to make sure their storage tanks are tight and not releasing petroleum into the environment. They're regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency to make sure that vapors are not released in the environment when you're refueling your car. So there's some advanced technology on the nozzles to make sure that doesn't happen. I, at this point, am unaware that those regulations are being applied to these mobile refuelers. And I think it's because right now, volumetrically, they're not really making a dent. I think they need to watch their back. They need to be prepared, because if they get to a point where market share gets to a point where the regulators are paying attention and they're not ready for compliance, they're going to find themselves in a world of hurt. But I think from a competitive threat, disruption, at this point, I don't see the market penetration at any type of level, even indication of growth that would cause me to say, hey, retailers, you need to be concerned. It's interesting. I think it's worth looking at because it kind of ties into the Uber home delivery, grocery home delivery, a couple other companies out there that are doing all these things that make your life more simple for a low cost of $5 a pop. And if those things all start picking up and mobile refueling becomes part of that package, then it may have a little more legs, and that may be something to pay attention to. But I'm telling you, this industry turns very slowly. Consumers change behavior very slowly. Technology is the one differentiator. And this is still carrying a liquid gallon physically from point A to point B. And they have a lot of hurdles. I would not tell any retailer to be concerned at this point about the threat from these companies.
Yeah, and even thinking about some of the things they may not, how you're one step away from having something you didn't anticipate. Imagining if my neighbor was using this and some guy came by and did fueling, and let's just say there was a little splash on our front yard. How does that affect our well?
Right.
I'm all of a sudden going to get very concerned, whereas those concerns aren't going to happen if my neighbor has the same issue at the gas station, where you have a variety of things that are regulated to manage this.
The technology exists, however, Jeff, to put a tight fuel tank in the back of a pickup truck. They do it for farming equipment. A lot of trucks have these big white tanks in the back of them that are filled with diesel fuel to refuel their equipment. Big difference, diesel fuel doesn't have the vapor issues that gasoline does. And I saw a couple of these tanks at a trade show recently, and there is no vapor controls because it's a diesel nozzle. It's a different metric. And the cost of putting in some sort of advanced vapor recovery system could be cost prohibitive to do it in the right way. I think it's interesting. If you think back, the first mobile refueling that I heard about was about 5 or 6 years ago, was when fuel prices were so high. And AAA has a program, at least at the time had a program. If you run out of gas, they'll bring you a free gallon of gas. So people running out of gas get a free gallon of gas, saving $5 a gallon in California. Gaming the system save money. This is a completely different market now. But I think if we're going to talk about disruptors, there are bigger disruptors to talk about than mobile refueling.
Speaking of mobile refueling, literally mobile refueling, I was thumbing through one of these old issues of National Petroleum News from the 1950s, and Mobil, the company, actually was doing something very similar to what you were talking about with AAA, where they tested the idea of going out on the road and filling up for people. So to a certain extent, it's a 50, 60-year-old idea. The difference is you add the technology elements and you add the interest by Silicon Valley and those who will call themselves, for lack of a better word, disruptors. Are we seeing some other disruptors that you're looking at that are a little bit more on the horizon as you look at issues related to the fuels institute?
Yeah, I think so. We did our second University Case competition this year, and we asked students from universities across the country to form teams and answer the question, if you could redesign the transportation energy system of the future, what would it look like, and how do you get there from here in the next 30 years? Of the 13 teams were invited to participate, the dominant themes were shared travel, autonomous vehicles powered by electric powertrains, and mass transit on rails. But most of the focus was on electric autonomous vehicles. There's tons of money being put into that. And so I've been spending a lot more time looking at the autonomous market. And the idea is autonomous features will be on the road in the next 2 years. Fully autonomous cars, you can do them now. Tesla Model S, you can download the autonomous drive feature. And a NACS board member actually told me that she was in a Uber Model S on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. The guy hit the address, crossed his hands, crossed his arms, crossed his chest, and the car drove down Michigan Avenue, changed lanes, parked, and let her out. He never touched the steering wheel. Her response, that was really cool. I don't know that I want to do it again. The difference is the generation that is maturing now will never have any compunction about getting into that car. And so the market opportunities are there. What we're seeing is what Model S has done, and Elon, you mentioned him earlier, Elon Musk has announced that you can be able to download what's called a summons feature pretty soon, where you can call your car on your phone and it'll come pick you up. So the idea of autonomous drive is the two-car family may go away because you have a car that drives parent 1 to work, comes back, picks up parent 2, drives them to work, comes back, stops off, drops the kids off, picks the kids up from school, picks the kids up from soccer practice, goes, picks up parent 1, goes, picks up parent 2. It's always in motion. And so you don't need two cars. The disruptor for the convenience industry is those are likely going to be electric cars. Now, there's an argument saying you can have autonomous as a gasoline-powered car, and you're right, you can. The limitations are numerous. One, can a driverless car refuel with gasoline? Now, we've seen robotic refueling. We've seen the videos. It looks like the dispenser is violating the car. I don't see that taking off because of some of the environmental issues we talked about mobile refueling. The other thing is, in an autonomous car, decisions have to be instantaneous. That algorithm the computer's running has to be instant. If it has to accelerate at a rapid pace to avoid a collision, it can't wait for RPMs to catch up. In an electric car, you have full power the second you hit the accelerator. So there's a lot of performance advantages to electric. You can have them park on an inductive pad at home and recharge while you're at work. They don't have to go to the gas station. They just park and recharge. So I think as autonomous picks up, that's going to bring electric with it. Again, this industry changes slowly. I am not nearly as bullish on autonomous vehicles as a lot of people are. There may be applications in small communities. Think about our older parents that may have all their faculties, but their reflexes aren't there. And they still are fully independent, but maybe they shouldn't be driving. What if they had an autonomous car that could do more than 25 miles an hour, take them to the store, take them to the errands they want to run? Huge freedom opportunity. The primary focus on government pushing autonomous is we have 30,000 deaths a year in the United States from auto accidents, and that went up 10% last year. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 million serious injuries. We waste 3 billion gallons of gasoline sitting in traffic. Autonomous cars help address all that. And so the interest is there, and I think that is becoming potentially one of the major disruptors that we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I guess just simply looking at the numbers to somewhat wrap up this segment, there are a lot of disruptors out there, but to disrupt the fueling system will take a lot. We're looking at 39 million fill-ups a day. Home delivery does a fraction of that. Electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, there's 250-some million cars on the road. To swap all of those out with a record 17 million in car sales a year is going to take some time. So Elon Musk may be right and say that the gas station will someday not exist. That someday is going to take some time. But it's worth looking at all these issues and seeing how they fit into convenience stores. We'll continue to talk about the future and what it means for convenience stores and those who go to convenience stores. So thank you for listening to Convenience Matters. We can talk about an awful lot of things, and the best topics are the topics that you want. So tell us about it. Go to naxonline.com/podcasts. Find the information there shoot us a note, and we'd love to hear from you.
You've been listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. For more information about the National Association of Convenience Stores, go to nacsonline.com.